Hello and welcome to Forest Skills lesson 14 now. My name is Ed Stafford and we are live. Today I'm going to get smoked out mercifully. I did start the fire and the smoke was going in that direction, the wind was going in that direction, and it's now circling a little bit and getting in my eyes, so I apologize for that initially, which is a really good start, isn't it? What are we going to do today? Today we are going to cook and poach an egg in a orange. So if you fancy having a go at that, then the things that you will need to take part in this lesson, if you're going to do this live, and obviously if you're watching this live, that probably means that you've got either good 3G reception outside or your Wi-Fi reaches out into the garden and you've been prepared and you've got a fire going. But also obviously you can just see what I'm doing and do it after the lesson. But if you do want to join in live, you'll need an orange, you will need an egg, you will need a sharp knife. Kitchen knife is absolutely fine, doesn't need to be a bushcraft knife. You'll need a responsible adult to supervise you because you're using a knife and you're cooking over fire, and you will obviously need a fire. Now if you are cooking this over flames, then you probably want a well-established fire which has got lots of embers, because what we really want is to cook these relatively slowly. We don't want to burn them to a crisp. We want to cook them relatively slowly in the embers, so make sure your fire has been going for a reasonable time. If you are doing this live and you want to go and get that stuff and you haven't already got it, then go and get it now, and I will do a couple of shout outs while you're away. Lots of regulars in this morning, thank you very much, lovely to see you all. Kai says morning from Mutsumi. First shout out is from Japan, nice one. The Ruddler says morning, looking forward to orangey eggs. Hello mate. Weight Loss Panda is saying good morning to everyone, as is Gary Seville. Morning from the GH boys, looking forward to seeing it and trying it later. Good morning Ed, I'm going to be so smoked out by the end of this lesson, it is going to be unreal. Morning Ed from the Morgans, Bailey, Josie, Miller or Myla and Stanley. Hi guys, how are you? Morning from Jez and the boy. Theo, all ready to poach. Hi Ed and Stephen from Woodland Project and Mr. Sweet, hope you're all well. Morning Ed from Marie and Jim. Fourth the youth said hi Ed. Chris in Ireland says can I get a shout out for Ben, age 7 in Gloucester, loves all your shows and these online lessons. We're heading into the garden to get a fire going and get some cooking. Hello Ben, how you doing mate? I hope you're having a good morning. Amber and Matthew, aged 4. There's quite a few coming in now actually. I'm going to try and go through these. I've got more time. This isn't actually going to take as long as some of the other ones, but I'll do some more while it's cooking as well. Amber and Matthew, age 4. Peter and Primrose from Norfolk, hi guys. We've done this using choc muffin mix, works well. That's an interesting idea, isn't it? There is a limited amount of things that you can cook on the fire that take half an hour or less. Obviously there's loads of cool breads and there's pizzas and there's all sorts of stuff, but usually the cooking time is long, so we're slightly restricted with what we can do. Morning Ed from Casper and Kate. Rebel 93 is saying hopes to see us at the Bushcraft show if it's on this year. No, fingers crossed it is on. I do love that event. Hi Ed from Max in Newark on Trent. Hello Max. Hi from Jez, Ezzy and Matty. That's the Patsons. Kim Craigie says morning Ed from Kim and Moss in Scotland. Morning from Carl in Oban, and I'm gonna stop there and start a little bit of cooking, and then I'll come back to this, and while it's actually cooking I can obviously do a few more shout outs. If you've got any questions as well, they don't have to be about cooking eggs in oranges, they can be about walking the Amazon, they can be about, I don't know, parenting, they could be about lockdown stresses, they could be about absolutely anything. If you've got any questions, you want to fire them in, I'm happy to answer those as well. I want to make this as interactive as possible always, and I'm providing the amusement factor by the fact that my eyes are stinging like anything. So if you're going to do this next to the fire, make sure that you're doing it upwind of the fire, not downwind of the fire, but obviously you can't do anything about that now because the camera rig is all set up. You first of all, I don't know whether people do this, but whenever I'm peeling an orange, I roll the orange, and I think that's especially important for this actually today. So you're trying to break the seal, I suppose, the layer between the pith, between the skin and the actual orange. And if you do this, it will start off and it will feel really quite hard. But a bit like if you're warming up a bit of blue tack, the more you squidge it, the warmer it gets, and the softer and more squidgy it gets, and you can sort of feel that your skin is coming loose, and that is a really, really important thing to do. So I hope everyone who is taking part in this live is now suitably rolled their orange, and make sure that you can do it between your hands as well. Make sure that the skin is as loose as possible. Then take a sharp knife. Again, if you are not old enough to use a sharp knife, then please get your mum or dad to do this, or at least do it under supervision. But obviously we are got the orange on the top, and you're just going to take off the top quarter. Okay, so very, very simply slice down and take off the top quarter of the orange. Then, okay, it might sound really simple, just cook an egg in an orange, but getting that orange out of the peel is a bit of a challenge. And I've had a little go this morning a couple of times, and I think the best way that I've worked out so far is not to try and cut too close to the skin, because cut close to the skin and you risk puncturing the orange. But I just have been going in, so leaving a bit of a gap, so taking out the middle portion, so just a cylinder type portion. Okay, taking out the middle, but all I'm doing there is making myself some space. I'm just going to show that to the camera. I've not gone right to the edge. All I've done is made myself some space in the middle, and then I get my finger, which is obviously washed because I'm hygienic, and I push it in and I wiggle it and I try and get to the outside, and then I'm just going to work my way around. It's as if I'm peeling the orange from the inside. I'm going to work my way around, and I'm just going to tease the orange away. And because I've taken out the chunk in the middle, there's space for the orange to move into, and then as chunks come off, you can just discard them. Obviously eat them, because oranges are nutritional and healthy and have lots of vitamin C, which is good in this damp weather, keeps the colds at bay. And take your time on this, because obviously you don't want to have any holes in it, and because you're cooking in this over the fire. And I think it's worth noting, this isn't because in a survival situation you might be stranded with an orange and an egg. Pretty unlikely, I would say, but it does open your mind to thinking of other options. Again, for me, survival is all about learning and growing and adapting the way you think in order to overcome situations. And I've cooked a chicken Thai curry in a survival situation in a bit of bamboo, and bamboo is often used because, again, it's a natural cylinder that can be used not that many times, it has to be said, but it can be used to boil, it can be used to cook in it. Green bamboo, obviously, because it doesn't burn quite as quickly as brown bamboo. So then you'll finally get to the stage, and there will be a little wispy bit at the bottom that you struggle getting out, but you've then got a hollowed out orange. Has anyone had any struggles with that? If they have, let's just hear about it down here. What else can you cook in an orange? I imagine you could do sort of flan in an orange. I imagine you could cook pretty much anything that cooks relatively quickly, I suppose. You could do a little omelette. You could do, which is eggs again, I suppose. Is there any other questions in there? No, I think we're good for the moment. Right, so hopefully you have got your orange like so, and you then need to, you can probably hear our cockerels in the background. We have, in fact, before I do this, I'm going to do this now. These ones actually aren't from the garden, I'm not going to lie, they're from M&S, but we're not sponsoring M&S, but the chickens aren't laying that many eggs. So you're just going to crack it and pop it in the egg, like in the orange, like so. So this is going to poach the eggs, obviously. It's not going to fry them. We're not using any oil. I'm not going to use any condiments at all. But what it will do is it will absorb the orangey, zesty flavour from the orange. Oh, the orange peel. Anyway, right, so I'm just going to move the logs apart, and because this has been going for a little while, and I lead jungle expeditions, or in a past life I did lead jungle expeditions, and often we'd have a barbecue as a little treat in the jungle with the volunteers, and we'd make it just using wood ash. And so you can obviously have a system whereby you've got a nice hot fire, but you're dragging the embers out, and you're basically making coals as, to simulate charcoal basically. And what we're doing is not putting this in the flame, but we're going to put it on the embers like so, and that is going to start cooking. I am hopefully going to be able to get that off. It's very warm. I might just go and get myself an oven glove if you bear with me for 2 minutes. In the middle of a live, haven't got any oven gloves. Prior preparation and planning prevents poor performance. There's another P somewhere, but I've forgotten that one. So make sure you've got some heat-proof gloves if you want to be able to get your orange off the fire if it's as hot as mine. That would be a very, very handy thing to do. So let's move this orange over here, and it's cooking away. Got some little white bits bobbling away there, but I am happy with that. And so I will do some more shout outs, ask some more questions. Right, where were we up to? Oban. So, Louise Play says, hope you're all okay. Preacher Bear, Tom and Colette. Hi guys, thank you for tuning in again. Ben in Staffs says hello. I have no connection to Staffordshire at all, that's just my surname. All my soldiers used to think that I was from Staffordshire for some reason. Well, obvious reasons really. Emma Martin says, hi again, Louis, Max and Trudy. Hi from Joel and Amy and Empsey. Going to try this at half term. Good idea, guys. Morning from Sarah and Edith. Hi Ed from Turkey, and that's from Ahmet. Would you recommend the parang in the Ben Orford shop? Well, I would, but this isn't about that. I'm more of a machete man more than the parang man actually, but Ben's parangs are very good. So that is quite a tricky thing to get off. Okay. I've never done this before. I thought that would be worth noting at this stage. So my gooey yolk did explode a bit there, so I'm going to do another one. That's quite tricky. So if you're using a fire bowl, I think it is worth noting that physically getting it out. I tried using the gloves at first, but it was quite tricky to actually get some purchase on it. So I used a couple of sticks and it worked, but I just spilt a bit of the yolk. So try and use something that is potentially less deep than a fire bowl in order to get your egg out. But let's just do another one. I will taste this one, but let's see if I can get a perfect one. That would be nice. Does that one want to go back on? No. Right. And while we're doing that, we'll do some more shout outs. We've done hi from Ahmet in Turkey. Hi from Max. That's Maxine, I think. Hi from Jez, Eddie and Matty in Cheshire. Hello guys, morning. What else can you cook in an orange? I've done that question before. I had a tooth out yesterday. What do you do if you're on an island and get tooth issues? I don't know, mate. Struggle, I reckon. I wouldn't qualify to say. I have a false tooth that comes out all the time, but it doesn't give me any problem. I just look a bit daft. Any chance of a lesson in bushcraft first aid. Yeah, probably a good one to do. I think cuts, blisters, bites, etc. Yeah, no, quite a nice idea that from Gary. Cake mix works well in the oranges apparently. That's good to know. Okay, so we're bubbling. It's quite interesting the way the egg cooks in the orange peel, and even the one that I took out earlier, you can see how it's not quite cooked enough, but I panicked when it started to bubble out the top. I panicked and took it off, so it probably needed a little bit more time than that, but I'm not going to panic with this one. I'm going to allow it to have a little bit more time, and we're going to get a perfect egg. And this is all about trial and error, obviously, and experimenting with cooking things. You know, if you haven't, often the biggest noise I've had when doing survival experiments is there's no container, and that's the biggest factor. Is you can't boil water initially if you've not got a container, because it's a really tricky thing to boil water without water. So you have to start looking for indentations in rocks and things, so you could heat up rocks to then throw in the water to boil the water, all sorts of thinking outside the box things. So don't panic, but we have got a really nice bubbly white egg coming out the top now. I like that a lot, but I'm just going to leave it a little bit more time because I learnt my lesson from last time, and this isn't quite done yet. Oh, but that orangey flavour is extraordinary. Right, how long do we leave it? Oh, that is looking good. That is looking really good. Would it work with the coconut? Yeah, I think it would. I think it's worth experimenting with lots of things. Often green is better than brown, so obviously not a brown husky coconut because that will burn quite quickly, but the same way as bamboo, green bamboo works better. But I didn't actually have any oranges. I put this online as an idea to do last night, and I went into the kitchen, we haven't got any oranges, so I was going to use the pepper, and then I thought, no, I'll just go to the garage and buy some oranges. Or make some tongs. Yeah, so obviously if you saw Stephen's session on Monday, he made some bushcraft tongs. They would be a really, really handy thing to have right now. Or you could just be extraordinarily skilled like me and take that off. Right. Good. So we've cooked. That looks really good actually. Let's open this one up delicately. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's hot. It is hot, but that is gonna be wonderful. I might leave that for a little second to cool down, but that is such a lovely little pocket of poached egg. It looks kind of beautiful in a way, but I'm going to let that cool down before I taste it. Where did you learn all your survival skills? I make it all up as I go along, I've got to be honest. I'm being slightly flippant about that, but no, I've never had bushcraft lessons, not in the same way as Stephen, who teaches Monday's lessons. He's a very textbook instructor. He's been taught from the age of about 15, 16, exactly how the professional instructional way of doing all of these things is. And I kind of joined the military at 22, then left that and led expeditions for 7 years or so to jungles like Belize and Borneo and Guyana, and learnt it all on the hoof. And a lot of my stuff actually comes from direct watching indigenous tribal people do what they do. So whether that's lighting a fire or plaiting a shelter or you know, or just little simple things, cutting wood, splitting wood. A lot of that for me has come from tribal cultures. So yeah, that's where I've learnt stuff mostly from. Where in the world have you not been, and where would you like to go and why? I've got this real yearning to walk across Antarctica. I tried to get this expedition off the ground in 2006 and failed to get the funding actually, but it was amazing. Land Rover were involved, and we'd made this bespoke pulk that you could crawl inside because I was trying to work off this. Basically, this is quite a long story actually. I went to Italy and interviewed Ellen MacArthur's sleep coach. She does this polyphasic sleeping where you sleep multiple times a day, and that's how she gets around the world on our yacht races. I thought, let's employ this tactic on a polar expedition so that you can not have to but in order to sleep multiple times, putting the tent up and taking it down is obviously a real faff. So I basically evolved this poke into a sleeping Land Rover, nicknamed it the Coffin actually, so maybe it's good that the expedition didn't happen, but basically you crawled into it. It has such a big surface area on it so that we put solar panels all the way over it, and it had a snow melting machine. It used Range Rover heated panels to melt the snow that you shoveled into the nose, and then had a tap on the inside so you got water on tap, so you didn't even need to melt the snow. Extraordinary. I'm slightly relieved it didn't happen because there were so many new technologies, and obviously my life would have been in the balance relying on all these new technologies. So when the money didn't come through actually on the phone, I ended up crying to my agent, and then and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for not being able to get the money together." And I said, "Look, don't worry, I'm crying out of relief, not sadness." Yeah, so everyone can make the tongs that they use on Monday. Obviously that's a brilliant thing to do, but I'm not quite as organised as Stephen. Can you make a video on how to cut nails in a survival situation? Look, I hate to say it, you just got to bite them. It's not a great habit in a civilised world. But shall we have a little taste of this now? I'm just going to hold it up to the camera if I can, so that you can see it. Let me turn the screen around so I can frame it correctly. Look at that steaming pile of eggy goodness, and it's going to be infused with orangey, zesty, tangy wonderfulness. Okay, pop this out, and it is the moment of truth. Oh, that is good. Oh, that is so surprisingly. Do you know what? I like egg with orange zest in it. It's just cooked to perfection. The yolk is just a little bit runny. Gordon Ramsay would be proud of that. I'm absolutely sure. Wow, that was fantastic. Even if I say so myself. If you're not taking part in this live and you're doing this afterwards, and you're a parent, this is actually really worth doing. It's really, really good. And it cooks the eggs really well. That is extraordinary. Right, I'm going to have some more after we do this. Cool. Wow, that was simple but effective. Yeah, I mean, all of these things are designed so you can do it as a family. This is a lockdown-based principle, all of these lives, and they're for little ideas in order to be able to get out into the outdoors and not just go on a dog walk, you know, because it gets boring after a while. It's interacting with stuff, it's making that fire, it's sitting around a fire, and something about just sitting around a fire is cleansing for the soul. It really is. And kids love it as well. And to be able to cook an egg in an orange and it actually comes out and tastes good, like really good, I think it's a lovely way to reconnect with nature. This is reconnecting. When people talk about the buzzword at the moment is rewilding, what does that mean? I mean, I'm not talking about rewilding land. Rewilding land is an older use of the term, but the current term rewilding means, I suppose, rewilding people, getting outdoors, reconnecting with nature. How do you reconnect with nature? It seems a sort of abstract thing. This is how. It is literally having a fire. It's literally using natural materials to make your cooking pot from, and cooking eggs. I'd love to say that these are from the garden, but I'm too honest to lie, so they're not. They're from M&S. But for me, this is all about. This is how you reconnect to nature. It's engaging with stuff. It's not. I think one of the best lines that Stephen has ever told me is like, nature's not a museum, and I absolutely love that. Nature is not something to look at and go, oh, isn't that pretty, and not engage with it. You know, some of what he does involves taking limbs safely off live plants, and he doesn't damage them at all. And I think this is really important, isn't it? It's not a museum. It's not pristine. You can't not interact with it because you're going to somehow disturb it. We are part of nature, and I think That is what is so important about all of this. Theo's eggs looking good. Nice one, Theo. Well done, mate. Any other feedback? What nuts, insects, flowers or fruits shouldn't be eaten in a survival situation? That's quite a broad topic. If you're ever worried about something in a survival situation, there is a sort of, it's an old British Army pamphlet sort of thing to do, but you rub a bit on your skin and you wait an hour, and if that's not caused any irritation, you can rub a bit on the inside of your lip, and again wait an hour, and if that's not caused any irritation, you can chew a bit in your mouth and then take it out, and again if that's not caused any inflammation or trouble after an hour, you can then eat a tiny little bit and again wait an hour. So that's incrementally using different methods just to check that whether the body is actually allergic or has a reaction to that product, or whether it's toxic or poisonous. So you can do that, but if in doubt, I would say, certainly in terms of kids, don't eat it. If in doubt, if you haven't positively identified it, certainly with something like mushrooms, do not eat it. That is the safest advice. Please say hi to Mason. Hello, Mason. How are you, mate? Jess, Ezzy and Matty. Hi, guys, again. Could you do a live lesson on cooking simple bread over a fire? Yeah, well, I mean, I did a really professional lesson on bannock twisters, and the bannock twister, it was number one. It was lesson number one, and it kind of almost fell in the fire, but we just about saved it. It was a bit of a disaster. But the problem with most bread is that you've got to leave it in there longer than a short little lesson like this. So let me have a word with Stephen. Maybe there's a way of making little tiny rolls or stuff that would be really nice breakfast rolls, and get him making some of those, because his bread is amazing. He makes these breads with beer and stuff like that, and God, they're just fantastic. They are French patisserie stuff, standard. Shout out for Mike and Shani. Hi guys, how you doing? Hi from Mason Massey. Please say hi. Hi Mason. Any chance of a session making simple smoking rack for triangle for biltong? Yeah, I can do. Obviously that sort of process is going to take a while, but there's no harm in actually making something like that. I think that's quite a nice idea, and then we could just come back to it in the next lesson, couldn't we, and see how our biltong has come along, or our dried whatever we put on it. Whoa. I consider that to be a success. Let me just have a little drink of coffee, because I'm being completely smoked out by this fire. But as ever, this isn't a sort of doomsday prepper lesson, because one day you might be left in the wild with an orange and an egg. It's not that at all. It's literally just introducing different ways of doing things in order to start the brain thinking in different manners. Like, we're all so used to having so many things around us that help us, you know, from a knife to a cooking pot to a tent. But suddenly when you start stripping these away, it's not just that you become less comfortable, but the whole thing starts getting more interesting. When I started doing survival on Discovery Channel, I did everything without a knife. Naked and Marooned on an island for 60 days was without a knife. And you have to engage with nature so much more. The more human made things, or the more manufactured things you've got, the less you need to engage with nature. So actually deliberately removing them, deliberately taking them away, maybe not using a knife, maybe not using a cooking pot, means that you have to understand nature. You have to understand the properties of what fruit's going to be good and is going to be able to hold that egg in it. And suddenly, I think it's that engagement, it's that greater level of understanding of nature in terms of what you need and what might be able to help you, that gives you that connection and that affinity. And for me, and I think that's an extraordinarily healthy thing to do. Hope you really enjoyed that, everybody. I'm going to see if there's the last couple of little questions, but I'm going to leave it there. Woodland Boys, love your lessons. Thank you. Make flatbread or ash cakes with a bannock mix. That's a really good idea from Kev as well. Can you make a video about shampoo making with natural materials? I'd have to investigate. I don't have that much hair. If you hadn't noticed, who's that from? Darth. Darth obviously has a lot of hair that needs some cleaning. Kai, I want to know how to make a water bottle in a survival situation. All right, yeah, no, that's quite a nice one, Kai. We could have a look at that. Rosie Matt, Pongo Bear, and the Pyrenean Mountain Dog. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't actually made the egg now, then please go out and do this. I've never done this before, but that worked really, really, really well. Make sure you've got the tongs that you made with Stephen on Monday, so you can get it out of the fire a little bit easier than me. But whatever you do, don't burn yourself, don't cut yourself, and look after yourself. And I hope your day is an amazing one. Thank you, guys.